Hello, hello.
Gentlemen, the big three is back again. Well, Michael, Steve, welcome to the Game of Life Mentoring Podcast and Community Conversation. We're streaming live on YouTube right now. And for the benefit of, of our audience, we want to make sure everybody understands who's with me today. Two very good brothers, close friends. We have Mr. Steve Stowe, Vice President, Executive Director of the Miami Heat Charitable Fund, and Mr. Michael McCullough, Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer. Did I get those titles right, gentlemen? You guys got like 10 jobs. Want to make sure everybody's good.
Sounds good.
When they let you write your own title, that's what you get.
That's exactly. and so welcome, gentlemen, and a lot to discuss today. And as we continue to just deal with the reality of the pandemic, the reality, as I call it, COVID-19 and racism 2020. This is a mentoring podcast, so we don't get into politics and all of that. We just deal with humanity, and we deal straight up as it relates to how we can encourage our youth, encourage our families, make Miami a better place where everybody feels safe, and we build that mutual trust and respect. So I want to just jump in and first of all say congratulations. I mean, wow. Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. Oh, what a season. And gentlemen, and again, everybody competes to win, but exceeding expectations, teamwork, sportsmanship, grit, resilience. How would you guys sum up the season that just ended?
Well, I'll just jump in real quickly, Steve. I thought it was a fantastic year on the court. Obviously, the success that we had as a team and what you saw as the bonding and the brotherhood that and the Heat culture that you always hear about, it was on full display. And they're in the bubble, and you just saw what it meant to be a Heat player and what it means to be a Heat fan. The most surreal thing was obviously not being able to enjoy it in the building at all. Watching all these games on television and texting and having all these group chats going on at the same time. Not quite the same experience as sitting with 20,000 people, but we'll take the result. It was a fantastic year.
Absolutely. Steve, how would you sum up the season from your vantage point?
No, absolutely. I mean, from starting training camp in West Palm Beach, 12 months before the NBA Finals was surreal as well. Like Michael said, the brotherhood that this team had and seeing players grow over the course of the year. It was not your typical NBA season, but at the same time, for me personally, and I know for Michael, it was a season like we'll never forget. It was special. We've been around 3 NBA championships, which are all just incredible experiences. But this one is the goosebumps year. This one was the one that just kept going. And I know from Michael's standpoint, it never stopped. From the second that first ball tipped, and even from the pause that happened, on March 11th. It was an intense year, and I think the fans really saw what we knew all along, that this team could compete. This team's going to compete, and that's why we're so excited, because we're starting up again, and we get to put a product on the court that people got to see, and these players are ready to do more than what we did last year.
When you think about an intense year, and let's jump right in, gentlemen, because what I appreciate about both of you is you're real. You're raw, but you're always so authentic with it. 2020, certainly we all understand the necessity of adhering to protocols and all that as it relates to COVID-19. But relationships, stress, intensity, death, racism. When you all saw the George Floyd incident, where were you and how did it resonate with you personally and professionally? Let's start with you, Michael.
You're right, Gail. This is a year unlike any other, and I think that George Floyd moment will forever kind of go down as something in our country's history that as a flashpoint and as a moment that you won't ever kind of forget watching that video. And for me, on a personal level, I think for a lot of African American men, you kind of saw yourself. You saw yourself there on that ground, or you might have seen your son there on the ground. And I think most African American men, probably have a story of their own about an unfavorable interaction, maybe with law enforcement at some point in their life, and you kind of flash back onto that, and you realize maybe that you weren't that far away from that. So it was a moment that I was sitting here in my apartment. I'll never forget it, and just the raw pit that's in your stomach when you see something like that. And I don't think it's left. I think that pit is still there, and I think that's what motivates a lot of people who saw that footage, and maybe previously to seeing something like that, you might have heard about those kinds of interactions, but you didn't really know. And I think it just opened a lot of people's eyes, and that's why it was so visceral, I think, around the country, around the world, actually.
Absolutely.
Because you actually saw it happening.
No denying what everybody could see. No hearsay, no political spin, just real and raw hatred, abuse, and quite frankly, murder, unfortunately. Steve, how did it resonate with you, brother?
Yeah, I saw it. I think someone posted the video somewhere, and I saw it on my phone in my house before it really broke the news. So I almost didn't even believe that it happened. I thought, like, I was watching it, and it just went on and on. It still hurts me to even visualize it, and like Michael said, to know that that's a human being, and I know that there's a better way, and just watching it hurt, talking about it hurt, not knowing his name at the time hurt, and these are things that little did we know at the time. It was just the start of what we've known for so long too, and that's what's so painful, is that so many instances similar to that have been occurring, and things like that happen in our society on all different levels, and that one really hurt. And I said to myself, what can we do, and how can we help? And I don't think anyone had answers. That nobody did. I mean, it was just that you just wanted it to stop. You watching the video, you wanted it to stop, and you just didn't want it to go where you thought it was going to go. So, look, all of us have families. If we don't have kids, we know so many people with families, and that, like Michael said, you just think of your kids, you think of his family, you think of the officer's family, you just think of so many people affected by an action. And that's what I think, what I realized the most, is how we're in a time where people view things and make opinions and jump to conclusions so fast, and it's up to us as a society to be better. I mean, we have a great platform at the Miami Heat, thanks to Michael McCullough, because of what he puts out there. But it's all of us. It's about all of us being, no matter what you do. And I think that's what that was for me, is having people own up to what they are and who they are, and maybe who they haven't been, and try and get better, and figure out a way how to evolve into being a better person.
Well, gentlemen, as a father, and I met with my kids and lump in my throat and talk to them about the so-called the talk. And I'm not talking about the birds and the bees. Sadly, in just about every Black family, you've had the talk. If you ever come into contact with law enforcement and things go sour, here's what you do, where your hands are. And I took it to another level. I said, if I lay on the floor and somebody's you got your knee on your neck, here's what you do to stay alive. I mean, my goodness. I mean, it cut deeply. And so as we deal with that type of raw footage and the reality in our own homes, all of us are fathers, and nobody, no child, no human being should ever be subjected to something like that. But then we look at the business reality in the midst of a global pandemic, seeing something worldwide, as you said, Michael and Steve. Now your business, gentlemen, the National Basketball Association, the Miami Heat, as you deal with this global pandemic, when the league shut down due to the pandemic, how do you respond as a brand from a philanthropic as well as marketing standpoint? Let's start with you, Steve.
Well, obviously, you know, when that first happened and we had a statement and words mean a lot, it was bigger than a statement. It was bigger than what you can say. It was about what can we do to formulate action. And I think all of us pride ourselves in working here at the team. No matter what your occupation, what your role is, we're all the same. I mean, like you said, titles have words. If a lot of words, not a lot of words, commas, you know, things. We're all the same, and I think that's what this taught everybody at our organization. Is we're in this together. We're in this together with our community, and we're in this together with our players. And how ironic, the first time that we really have felt more together than ever, we can't be together and we can't see each other and we can't touch each other, or we can't have the casual laugh or casual touch point. So I think that's what it did. It really made everybody feel a certain way. And I think our feelings, we didn't even know what to feel. And I'll let Michael touch upon it a little bit more. Is just so we came together as an organization like we never have. And I think that moment really changed us forever. And I think the Heat have always been, leaving our goal is to leave these footprints in this community. But I think now everybody felt more powerful with those footprints that we want to leave here.
Michael?
You know, Steve hit the nail on the head when he talked about action. You know, there were a lot of words being thrown around for a lot of different reasons. And again, when you go back to the beginning of the pandemic, you know, the first thing that we had to try to do was take care of those part-time employees who weren't going to be able to have those paychecks because the arena wasn't going to be open. And, the reality of what it meant from, you know, and Gail, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been doing food deliveries and food pickups. There are life realities here that, you know, pandemic, George Floyd, you know, all these things are happening all at once. And can't forget about the fact that, you know, somebody can't put food on the table. So, you know, we wanted to do that. And then we wanted to take some steps where we could have some concrete action. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is you don't always have to be first. And there is no right. You have to do what's right for you and your organization. And so we were never trying to hurry and be first, because that's when you either don't think it all the way through or you make a mistake. We just wanted to take the right steps. And so we took our time. We were very thorough. We were diligent, and we made a pledge about what we were going to do, who we were going to support, and how we were going to get involved. And you know, it was a very forward-facing pledge. It featured, you know, video that Mickey Harrison, Eric Spoelstra, Nick Spoelstra, Nick Harrison, you know, everybody at the executive level was in, but we also had regular rank and file Heat employees in that video. And that was important to me. And one thing that people kind of don't see that's not forward-facing is how we're engaging with our staff. You know, we have almost 400 people as a full-time staff who represent South Florida. We look like South Florida, we sound like South Florida, and there are a lot of difference in opinions and feelings and thoughts amongst these people. And we had to make sure that everybody understood the path that we were going to go down. And we knew, just like on the outside, we were not going to be, everything that we did wasn't going to be appreciated by everybody. We were going to turn some people off. We knew that was going to happen in our own building, within our own four walls. And we needed to make sure everybody understood, like, guys, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're doing it. And, you know, we're going to keep talking to you every step of the way because we want you to be engaged, but we've made a pledge as an organization, and this is what we're going to be about.
Wow. The strength of a brand, the courage of a brand, the intentionality of a brand. When so many people, and I couldn't have you on a show, McCullough, and not give people, our audience, some good business advice, because you're a marketing machine. And so many people have to reinvent themselves as a result of a pandemic. And so if one door closes, or due to just unfortunately the supply and demand, how does someone increase? And, you know, I got not only staff tuning in, bigs tuning in, parents, and littles. How does someone increase their personal brand, Michael, when they have to reinvent themselves due to a pandemic?
Well, first you have to. It's a great opportunity to find out who you really are, right? Like, where's your grounding? You know, where do you stand on things? Like, can you look at what happened in that video, and like, what's your reaction? And you know, maybe your reaction isn't the same as everyone else's, and you got to think about what that says about who you are, because I don't know how many people can look at that video and react other than with like outrage and sadness, but clearly there are a lot of people who didn't react that way, who maybe felt that way, but didn't have those outward actions. And so I think when you're faced with like a crisis, you have to find out about your own internal grounding first. And then once you kind of make sure that you know where you stand, if it's on this issue or that issue, like you have to make sure that you're not wavering. There's always room for listening to opinion and talking to people who differ from the way that you think. That isn't necessarily swaying you so much as you're understanding others' points of view, you know, but you have your point of grounding. And sometimes it's not necessarily about right and wrong, or my point is better than your point. You have to know about kind of who you are, and these moments present themselves as an opportunity for you to find out who you are as an individual.
I'm on the JV team in terms of marketing, but I will say this to you, brothers. I do know that a brand gets its strength from repetition. And if you know who you are, to your point, Michael, then stay consistent. Don't just go with the wind, if you will. One day I don't like that. Oh, I just looked at a video on YouTube or whatever, and now I've changed my viewpoint. Nothing wrong with changing your mind, but know who you are. I can't stress that enough to our littles and to adults. Be consistent, know who you are, because you will be exposed when challenges come through. It's not, the strength of something in the midst of a storm, not on a nice, bright, sunny day when everything is good. And so when the challenges of life, the trials of life come up, you'll know how strong you are. So please, all the littles, take that to heart, even the bigs. Be consistent so that people know exactly where you stand, who you are. You're entitled to your own opinion. We get that. But at the end of the day, our kids are watching. And our kids, gentlemen, not only are our own, but all these kids here in South Florida, they're watching. And our kids, and guess what? It doesn't take long for a child to say, got you. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Don't underestimate our kids in terms of reading adults. I think we as adults sometimes underestimate kids thinking, okay, I can pull the wool over their eyes. No, sir, not at all. Yeah. Speaking of kids, I have taken travel teams up to Orlando and vans, convoys with parents, pre-COVID, of course, to the Orlando Sports Complex. Been in the various buildings for games. I cannot imagine what it's like to have the best players in the world walking around with their headphones on, backpacks, ice cream cones, whatever. I mean, to be a fly on the wall, to say, oh yeah, there's that guy and there's that guy, and we play tonight at 6. What was it like in the bubble for executives and players? And keep in mind, even your Heat staff, that whether they were in the bubble or communicating and making sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. Steve, what was it like?
Well, I was fortunate. I had a chance to go to the outer bubble for the NBA Finals, right at the end of the Eastern Conference Finals. And yeah, that was a very surreal experience. Just first and foremost, staying healthy and being very diligent and having a routine to keep your mental health, but at the same time, your physical health. And I think that's the one thing that since this started, like Michael said, being consistent with your health. I said to so many people, like, we've all had rough days and not great days. And it's like a day that you're healthy. I know you don't maybe feel great, but you're not really causing any issues to anybody else. So that's a good day that you get through. And then, in the bubble itself, that was unique because it was just the Lakers and the Heat. So yeah, there were some times, coming back from a game that we won, and their bus was, getting to the hotel at the same time our bus was getting there, and you walk side by side and everyone's looking at each other, and we're happy and they're not. And then there was the same thing that happened on the other end where we were not happy, and you go straight to your room and they're hanging out in the lobby. But yeah, just communicating to our team and the players during the bubble was a challenge. Like I said, I pride myself on human relationships. I pride myself on being who I am, and being able to communicate to people, and I had to evolve. We've all they're kidding ourselves if we said we did Zoom before this, or we did, Microsoft Teams, or we didn't. I had a talk with Andre Iguodala about it right when he came down in his experience with Zoom before this all started, and it's pretty amazing how efficient you can be. You don't. My advice is I tell people, don't schedule 5 Zooms in a day or 4 calls in a day. You're going to burn yourself out. And I think it was funny how sometimes phone calls turned into Zooms during the phone call. So it was all a learning curve, and it was pretty cool to get Pat Riley on it, and get people that have never FaceTimed or do things like that. So there was definitely a learning curve, but communicating to the folks in the bubble, listen, routine was everything. And that's why I think our team succeeded so much. We love routine. We love regimen. We kind of love wearing the same stuff every day. We love doing the same thing every day, eating the same thing, getting on the bus at the same time. We're very routine. So I think you have to find your place. If someone does a walk at 5 o'clock, maybe that's the time to call them. If there's practice, schedule is important. And I think whatever job or whoever's listening right now, whatever you're doing, or even if you don't currently have a job, you need a routine to pretend you have a job. Like, so maybe your 9 to 5 is trying to get the job and trying to find you're someone who's going to mentor you from 9 to 5. And I think that was the greatest thing about the bubble is reinventing yourself, like Michael said, and figuring out a way, how can we do this? Because if you think you're just going to do the same thing that you've been doing all along, you're kidding yourself. It was about really trying to figure out a way how to reinvent what you've done.
It takes so much discipline. It just takes me back to high school, and here's the Laker bus, here's the Heat bus, and you kind of giving everybody that dirty look. I know you probably gave LeBron a dirty look, Steve. You don't have to say it on the show. I'm protected.
No, I'll tell you some story. I mean, so we all have masks on. I know them, they know me. Executives, agents. I was guilty of not saying hello at first because you don't want to talk because you want to socially distance. And you're getting tested every day, and then after a while, you do talk to each other and see what's going on. And I've made some really nice friends, maybe that I wasn't as close with before, because it's the same. Someone loses, someone wins. Players on their team could be players on our team, and we're like getting back to how we started. We are all the same. We're all the same. That's it. And I think it was just an experience that. Hopefully won't happen again. We want to get back in buildings and play the real way. But the kudos to the players to play the way they did, because to play, like Michael said, when you don't have a building of 20,000 fans, watching it on TV, I felt like Michael's shirt right there. That's one moment in my professional career where I actually jumped out of my couch like crazy because of Bam Adebayo. And when we watch games, we sit here, we act professional, but that was a moment in my house that I acted like I've never acted before. So for the fact that these guys played as intense as they did with no fans there, that's a credit to them, because it's not so easy to play at that level when you have 40 people watching.
No doubt. And Michael, the NBA was a class of the field. Speaking of that shirt, Michael, I see just the hand. Can you just give us a little bit? Oh man. There you go, brother.
That's an iconic moment.
I think a whole lot of people jumped out of their seats. Across the world, like I think it was Magic Johnson that had mentioned, he said, you know what, I think I'm quoting Magic. I think I'm quoting the proper person. He said, man, that is classic. And intensity, professionalism, and love of the game. Speaking of the game and the brand, the National Basketball Association. And again, you got NFL, you got NCAA, you got all this other stuff, other professional leagues and collegiate associations. But the class of the field with this bubble concept, Michael, and how the love of the game, and I tell you what, personally as a sports fan, being able to have something to watch on TV other than the reruns, you know what I mean? And so obviously the Michael Jordan series only had, that was what, 10 weeks or something to do in terms of basketball. But I'm just thankful as a sports fan. So Michael, what was it like from your perspective through the marketing lens and as an executive in the sport?
Well, the interesting thing is that the NBA, and you mentioned all the other leagues, the NBA really kind of set out to do a couple of things. First of all, create a safe, healthy environment. Everything that they did, that was always number one. So if it wasn't going to fall in those buckets, it wasn't going to happen. And once they got those protocols down, it was really about how can we create an environment, as Steve mentioned, where the players were going to give, 110%. And from a presentation standpoint, we can create an environment where that made it feel for them and the people watching at home, made you feel like you were watching a game in regular circumstances. And I think all of us at some point got caught up in what we were watching, we didn't realize that they're in a place where 40 people were watching. And I heard from people like Steve and our basketball executives who said, like, those games started feeling like regular games in full arenas. And that's just like the sensory environment that the league was able to create with, the crowd noise and the signage and the virtual fans, which was a whole nother thing all by itself, where, you could create this environment where the players really felt like, hey, this kind of feels real. And you get those kind of efforts, you get this block at the end of a game in the playoffs. You get those kinds of efforts because the players really felt like they were in an environment that was conducive to them playing at the highest level. Their safety was not an issue. Their health was not an issue. Their, nutrition, all that was not an issue. The NBA took that off the table, making it so they could concentrate and focus on what they do best. And then around the edges, we could fill in and create the environment and bring our fans into the fold. And, we had one content person who was lucky enough to be there, Tariq Pierce, and he was just capturing everything. They treated him just like he was part of the team. And so we're able to capture all that and bring it back to our fans. So, from a marketing standpoint, we were able to let our fans know what it was like to live in the bubble, but more importantly, like how our players were competing in the bubble at such a high level.
And with that, let's go back to the court in the bubble when you had the world's attention. And so, Michael, when I think about just a game during this time, it was more than just two teams on a court, but the messaging, the very clear social justice messaging. It was more than a game on so many levels. And as I think about that, even on the uniforms, the messaging, tell us about that process, because there's people listening and you talk about seizing an opportunity, and it might've made a lot. I've heard people say, hey, I just want to watch a basketball game. I don't want to see messages like that. But there is not only from the league standpoint, the association, but from the Miami Heat brand. Tell us about that process of creating the social justice messaging in the midst of an athletic competition.
Well, again, I've worked for the NBA in different capacities now. This is my 34th season in the league. So the league has always been one in which it tried to use its platform for the greater good. And our players have done that. Other teams' players have done that. But the league as a whole has recognized its position. It's different than the other leagues in that we're very kind of pop culture infused, and we have a huge youthful audience that follows us. We're the number one league on social media by far of any of the United States professional sports teams. Our players in United States sports have the biggest followings, worldwide brands, playing our game. And so we knew we had an opportunity to speak to a large group of people, and particularly younger fans. So we want to take the opportunity to use that as a messaging platform. And the players were adamant. players were adamant that we took this opportunity. If they were going to go play, because a lot of guys didn't want to go play because they thought they were going to lose the opportunity to use their voice at this moment in time where it was really necessary. And so from the league standpoint and from our standpoint, we said, look, you guys go do your job. You go do your thing. We will make sure that we don't lose your message. We don't lose the momentum. And we made that promise, that pledge to our players that we were going to speak on their behalf. And we were going to keep them informed. We're going to keep them involved. We're going to keep them engaged. So you knew what we were doing all the time. So you didn't have to worry about whether or not we were squandering this opportunity, because we didn't. So the league was smart. They gave the players the opportunity to put social justice messages on their jersey, social justice, Black Lives Matter messaging on the court, video vignettes throughout every game. It was clear, if you were watching these games, where the NBA stood and how we were going to use our platform and our voice to speak up for social justice and social change and for voting. And we did that. And it was a very consistent message. And, look, again, I've been in this league for a long time. I don't know that I've ever been prouder of our group collectively, of our team individually, than I have been these past, 7, 8, 9 months, just to see the amount of commitment financially, emotionally, structurally, that the Miami Heat and the NBA have put forth in this particular effort.
Incredible. I could ask you a funny marketing question. Who made the decision as to what fans would be the virtual fans in the stands, Michael, for a Heat home game? Was that you and your team, or did the NBA have? I mean, how'd that occur, and who was the funniest one you put up there?
Well, I will spare you all the virtual fan background because it was a very difficult and arduous process. But when you looked at it in the game, wow, that looked like really fun and easy. It was none of those things. We had a lot of fun with it. We had, DJ Khaled, we had Chris Bosh show up. We had Dwayne Wade show up. All that stuff was fun. But I think just the general fans who, most of those fans were our season ticket members who really wanted a chance to be part of the game. And so we opened it up to our season ticket members. And those are the folks who really got into it. We had people dressing up as nuns. We had real nuns. We had people bringing goats. We had people with pots and pans. Like we had Heat Nation represented there in the virtual fan area. And to me, it was awesome every game to tune it in. And behind the scenes, like we were getting those people engaged as if they were at a game. Michael Biamonte, our PA announcer, was talking to all those fans, and he was in the room with all those people. Dale, our in-arena host, our hoop troop, all those people that you would normally see at a Heat game, they were all behind the scenes in the virtual fan room. So for those fans, it was just like a game. So, we tried to create that environment, and we tried to create that atmosphere. The players couldn't hear those fans, but they could see them. And we wanted to make sure our players saw our fans engaged and gave us a little home court advantage, even though we weren't at home.
Incredible. Bravo. And Steve, Michael talked about the messaging, uniforms, court, the experience for Heat Nation and for sports fans worldwide. But there's still folks who, in the midst of, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, are like, you know what? I'm in the shut up and dribble category. I just want to turn on the TV and watch a game. All this social justice stuff, do that somewhere else. But the Heat have a statement on social justice, Steve. What is that?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I was fortunate early on to have some real raw conversations with Udonis Haslem virtually. And hearing him right away and seeing how passionate he was right away, like Michael said, I was like, all right, UD, you go do whatever you have to do. I'm going to be your voice for now, and when I need you, I'm going to need you. And that's the brotherhood where, we've known each other, and he trusts me and I trust him, and we still need to lean on him, we've leaned on him. So when that started, and Michael so eloquently, drafted our pledge and internally met so many times before it was released, publicly. And like Michael said, just thoroughly went through it all. and then realized that we do have a platform that's way bigger than words, like I mentioned earlier. And Udonis has them being our captain, and not having anything to do with politics, just having to do with this city and having to do with this community, and realizing that we've been doing all of this from the first day anyone's hired at the Heat. We're doing it, whether it's internally in our offices, whether it's externally in the community. We do these things already, but how can we now do it virtually, and how can we now do it with social distance in mind, and first and foremost, being safe from COVID-19. So I think those were challenges early on that the social justice pledge doesn't say in there, but that's number one, what we all have the responsibility to do, is to stay safe and healthy. So with that being said, I mean, I had at a moment, Michael probably doesn't even realize it, we were standing underneath a stairwell at an event where we were donating food to a Miami-Dade public school, and it was raining, and Michael was wet and I was wet, and we had masks, and I couldn't even hear what he was saying. He couldn't even hear what I was saying. And we had a moment there when I said to myself, this is enough. I had my this is enough moment, because we could give food. We could donate food and write checks from here till forever. I mean, and I want to. And there's a need, and I hope it goes away, but it's not. And that's what we're good at. We did it yesterday. We do it every day. But that was a moment where I said to myself, this is bigger than writing a check. I have resources that I want to introduce Michael to, and I want to work with Michael on this, and I want to bring everybody in. And I can't see another George Floyd video. I can't now, and I couldn't then. And I said, I don't care what my job is at the Heat. I don't care what my role is. I'm in a position where I want to help, and I can't do this anymore. We have to come together, and we did. And we really formulated a program that's going to save lives. It's going to. We haven't even started it yet. And yesterday, like I referred to, our Thanksgiving annual celebration that we did in Wynwood. And it's my favorite day of the year, where we're giving out food and to those people in need. And I haven't even shared this with Michael yet. And a police officer came up to me, Officer Perez, and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for your service." And he said, "I met you at the pilot training program in September, that at the Miami Police Department." That's what it's about. He was working our event. We didn't schedule him. I didn't know him. Officer Perez, if he's out there, he knows. And he came up to me in his car. And guess what? I wasn't scared. He wasn't scared of me. And that's what Michael and I, under that stairwell in the rain, getting soaked, started, because that was a time where I saw it in Michael's eyes, and I saw the fear, and I had the same fear, and I still have that same passion that I did that day. But now it's action. And now when you're at an event and somebody comes up to you and says, "Thank you," and we haven't even done anything yet, in my opinion, like we've just formulated this and worked towards it. So now this is going to be somebody, and I keep using that Officer Perez as an example, because I think that 4-hour training session changed him to where he could come up to me, and whereas maybe he wouldn't have in the past. And now I have a relationship with him. We exchange phone numbers for no reason other than because he's a friend now. And that's how it should be. And it's not whether you're a Heat player in a uniform. It's not whether you're executive. It's not whether you're a police officer with a badge. We're all the same. It's not your bigs, your littles. That's what I want. This society and this community, which we have such a role now, is everybody has to be an active participant in what they're doing to make this community better, no matter what you're doing. And that's really a testament of that social justice pledge, and everything falls under that umbrella.
Well, guess what, brothers? The next podcast we do together is going to be in the rain, and we'll just have some umbrellas so we don't have any.
We didn't have an umbrella. Michael didn't have an umbrella. So
we had nothing.
I'll take care. I'll take care of Brother Michael. Now, Michael, you are an alumni big brother. And just a very quick shout out. Do a quick shout out to your littles, and what are they doing these days, so that everybody knows the impact of what you've done as a professional.
Well, we'll start with the most recent one, because I just saw him just the other day. Donovan Bowens My little who just graduated he works over at the Publix in my neighborhood right downtown. But he came up to me again. I walked into Publix and I saw him there, and I always go right up and talk to him. And he's super excited. He's like, "Man, I'm just about to call you," because he's trying to get into the firefighters academy. And he had his interview, and he said the gentleman asked him why he wanted to be a firefighter, and he said, "Because I want little kids in my neighborhood to look up to me and see that they too can work in their community and give back to their community." And I was like,
Game over.
that's it. The 4 years I spent with Donovan, that was the payoff right there. That was the payoff. So going back to my very first little, I can't show you some of the stuff I have here, but Gene, my first little, Gene Vilpin, who's just an awesome young man. But he's now the band instructor at Miami Beach High. And he was all about music, but he was so scattershot when I first met Gene. We got him focused. He earned a scholarship. He went to FAMU. He got his master's at FSU. And now, again, he's back in his hometown working with kids. And it's fantastic. And my little in the middle, David Javier, is now at FIU. Sends me his grades the second they come out. He's like, "Michael, here's my grades. Here's my report card." He's doing fantastic. He's got like a 3.4 GPA. And we talk. He comes to Heat games with me. This experience as a big has just been phenomenal, that you can have this kind of impact on the lives of these kids who need that kind of mentorship or that kind of guidance or just that kind of friendship at that time in their life. And, little do you know, but like you said before, Gail, they're all watching you, and they're picking up on these things from you, and they're gaining confidence in themselves through you. So if there are people out there who are listening, who are questioning whether or not they should become a big, or what's in it for them, man, what's in it for them, what's in it for you isn't what's in it for you. It's what you can do for them, and then you just get the residual benefit because you see these young men and young women just thriving and growing. Just some really fantastic opportunities.
You should be in marketing, Michael. Join the team. Ignite. You can't ignite without a flame. And when you have a flame, you have heat, baby.
Yes, there you go.
Ignite the power and promise of our youth. Join the team. Become a big. bbbsmiami.org and say Michael McCullough sent me. And it's all good. And maybe one day down the road, you and your big can go to a Heat game. You and your little can go to a Heat game. That's how we roll. So the real big three, I was joking earlier, but I'm talking about big brothers, big sisters, Carnival, and the Miami Heat. And Michael, you are also a part of the illustrious Fantastic Four, also known as, shout out to Linda and Vicky Ray. I think Linda's listening in as well, Michael. So make sure you're on your best behavior so we can stay on Linda's team. But as part of that Carnival Scholarship Committee, you mentioned scholarship. So now you got your littles, and thank you for your service as a big brother. You know how I feel about you in that sense, brother, period. And so you got somebody working full-time in this community, becoming a first responder, a teacher, literally making beautiful music. And you're the music man. I'm checking out the albums over your shoulder. I see a little Stevie Wonder. I see a little old school Prince, 1999. My goodness, brother. So all I can say is you and your littles make beautiful music together, literally. But what we see, Michael, when those littles sit before the committee, the scholarship committee, and we got a lot of Kleenex there, as you know, because they tell their stories. So here we are talking about racism and the humanity and decency that's needed from every individual. But these kids deal with so many challenges, trials, and tribulations. What's your message to all the littles out there, Michael, in terms of just how they continue to cope and deal with our current reality?
Well, you mentioned the scholarship ceremony and the scholarship judging committee. Those 2 days are probably the two best days of the year for me every year, because it's a reaffirmation of, like you said, humanity. You have these kids that are sitting there, and the conditions under which they have to live just to go to school, just to do some of the simple, basic things of life, and how they've overcome all those challenges, and they're sitting in front of us because they've thrived to the point where they are eligible to receive a full ride 4-year scholarship. I mean, come on, what more could you possibly need to see that, your time with kids matters. Your focus on today's youth. If you're involved with the youth in any capacity, if you're a teacher, if you're an administrator, if you're a pastor, if you're touching kids along the way and helping them grow, and they sit in front of us and they're able to clearly tell their story in an emotional and a moving way, those 2 days are just really phenomenal. I can't really put it into words what it means to see those kids, and then to see them again with their parents on the day when we award them the scholarship, and the pride and the joy on the face of these parents is just immense. The room is just aglow with pride, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of. So I'm glad I get to be a part of that. It's a wonderful day. It's a difficult day. It's a day that I always come home and I used to yell at my kids when they were younger, like, you guys don't know how well you have it, and you don't ever not take advantage of an opportunity. Don't take things for granted, because there are other people who don't have what you have, and they are making the best of what they have. And these kids are spectacular.
No question. And I think in a word, Michael, resilient. How about that? And having said that, and just for the record, because inquiring minds want to know, shout out to Linda Cole and Vicky Ray, as I said. But I'm not the meanest one at the table on the Fantastic Four. Michael, can you go ahead and dispel that myth publicly? We're live.
You're not the meanest one at the table, Gail, but what inevitably happens in these meetings is Gail will ask the question that prompts the tears. And it's not because he's being mean, but because he's so intuitive and he knows what's lurking right beneath the surface with all these kids. He's able to ask the question that gets them to open up and share with us. And that's what we need to hear. Gail's just really good at asking that question. He's not mean.
Thank you, brother. So Linda, wherever you are, I'm not mean. I just probe. I'm like a scout. My eyes don't lie. I know what I'm looking at, and we got to go a little deeper than the surface.
Yes.
Good stuff, Michael. Now, Steve, you mentioned in terms of law enforcement, Big Brothers Big Sisters is privileged to work with so many municipalities and law enforcement agencies and professionals. We're pending a partnership with the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. That's going to be a powerhouse partnership. And we're also sharing that with our sister affiliates in Palm Beach, Martin counties, and Broward County. Again, stay tuned, everybody, for some breaking news on that. But I just kind of put it out there. So I guess it's no longer breaking news, Michael. But nevertheless, I'm just too excited about it. But so we have a Bigs in Blue program. We talk about Michael being a big brother. We have big brothers and big sisters who put on that uniform every day and protect our community. And they are the first ones to tell me. I've talked to all the chiefs. The worst thing they have to deal with is a bad cop. And so having said that, our matches in Bigs in Blue, we match to build mutual trust and respect, specifically within the Black and Brown communities. And so we're so thankful. And I will go ahead and take time out right now to thank all of the allies out there, to thank all the men and women in uniform who have signed up and stepped up to become a big brother or big sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We know the vast majority of our men and women in uniform do not seek to brutalize or harm our community. You keep us safe every day, and for that, we love you and we thank you for that. Steve, what you mentioned law enforcement in a program that you and Michael are working together on and with training. Tell us more about what the Miami Heat's doing in the space of law enforcement and training.
Well, we partnered with Dedication to Community, an outside company that has experience in this field, that has been doing this for many years. And then the City of Miami Police Department, which is the department the city where we play in, has a really large police department that many of us in South Florida interact with every day. So we've pledged to train right now. There are 900 patrol officers starting in January in a setting that really is going to teach human relationships. It's also going to teach reconciliation, but first and foremost, really to engage the community and have law enforcement also take part in evolving and understanding the sensitivities that are needed out there now, because law enforcement are conflicted just as much as the community members are now. And we have a few pockets in city of Miami, specifically Model City, Overtown, and Coconut Grove, just to name those three, where there's some issues in these communities that can be rectified before they even get to the point of law enforcement being involved. And most importantly, it comes to relationship building. And if we can take an experience to the community through us, and like that logo, that mark that people see, makes them feel so many things when they see that Heat logo right away. It just gives them that feeling. This is an extension of that, where maybe there's a 4-year-old in Model City that has an amazing experience with a police officer like I did yesterday. And then maybe they go on and want to be work in law enforcement, like in your program. Exactly. So I think it's about building together and realizing, you know, an officer puts his pants on the same way I do every day. And they have a job to do, and we have a job to do. And not everybody is perfect at their jobs. And I try to get better every day. I steal Coach Spo's, 1% better motto every day. As you know about that, Gail, is we all try and get better at what we're doing. And if you don't try and get better at what you're doing every day, then you're just going to, flat line and eventually decrease, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's mental health, which I alluded to in the past. It's very important now more than ever to take this time. And I think that's what we're doing with the police department. I've received so many calls, and I know Michael has, from my counterparts saying, how did you do this? And what are you doing? And we want to do this. And I know we're on to something, and different markets are having different issues. We're fortunate in South Florida to have a wonderful, vibrant, diverse community, as we all know so well. So I think this program is going to be something that's going to be groundbreaking. We have some of our Heat partners involved in it as well. And I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. And even talking with our players, they want to be involved too. And they feel so proud. Udonis is so proud about this program. And he's been in the bubble all summer with it. And he hasn't even put his toe in it yet. So I just can't wait to see how all of this really becomes bigger and manifests itself, and to the point that it's a natural feeling for people to know that we're all in this together. And reconciliation is that key word. You use resiliency, I'll use reconciliation, and it's about getting past what's happened in the past, but learning from it, and educating yourself on how this community can help one another.
Well, I tell you what, I applaud you all for that. Michael, go ahead. You want to add something to that?
No, I just want to say that this program is really special, and it's got the buy-in from Chief Colina, Assistant Chief Goss. The head people at Miami PD are the ones who are the biggest cheerleaders for this program. And when you have something like that, the people at the top who are enthusiastically raising their hands to say, I want our group to participate. We want to be better at what we do. We're good. We're taking the steps to be good. We know we can be better, and we want to be better. That's half the battle. And so, Steve and I sat in on these training sessions in the pilot program. And for me, it was, I just loved watching it. I mean, I sat behind this gentleman who was a 34-year veteran. He's a detective. And I saw him when he came into the training program, and I could read his body language. He wasn't interested in being there. Slouching, not paying attention on his phone. But as the program developed, as the day went on, sits up higher in his chair, puts his phone down, he's taking notes. When there's a chance for people to be called on, he's raising his hand. And at the end of the session, he's like, that's the best training program I've been through in my 34 years as a detective. And that's what we want to try to bring. We want to try to bring tools that help the police officers do their job better, acknowledges the challenges that they have. We're never going to try to tell the police officers how to do their job. We said that from day one. But what we want to be able to do is use our position as a Miami Heat and that unique position that we have in our community to be the bridge between law enforcement and the community. And that's what Steve and I and our organization are trying to do right now.
Well, I applaud you all. And again, it just goes without saying, but I want to say it for the record. Count us in with our Bigs in Blue program. Imagine having a training where you got bigs, littles, escalation, de-escalation, And I think it's a perfect plug and play. So as you all move forward, I know you did the pilot, but please include us as you move forward with that training, because I can see imagine a training camp for those bigs, littles, and we can have a little fun with that too, virtually or socially distant, whatever the case may be. So that is excellent. We can't have enough of that. And I will say this, gentlemen, right across the hall from where I'm sitting right now, there's a flag in my office that was given to my mother, Los Angeles County Deputy Sheriff Gary Claypool, my mentor. And his flag sits in my office. And so when I spoke at his funeral, and you saw out in Southern California, and every branch of law enforcement with a flyover as I was speaking, standing over his flag draped casket. So it's deep, it's personal with me when it comes to law enforcement and making sure, because that man taught me how to catch a football, put those triangle up, catch a football, basketball, same rules apply. And it all goes back to mentorship from a law enforcement officer that gave his life to keep the community safe. So brothers, I'm all in on that. So I got to stop talking, because that was totally off script, but that's real and raw, because that's how the three of us roll. Speaking of rolling and the Heat culture, Michael, I heard that the season we just finished in the bubble, and the bubble is no more. There's a new season starting. Tell us about that and what fans can expect, not only Heat Nation, but fans around the world.
Well, we did. It feels like we're just finished, and we can't wait to get started again. Season's going to start sometime for us around December 22nd. We're not exactly sure of the date. We hope to get a schedule here very shortly. But yeah, we're back at it. We're back at it. We never really stopped. So from a marketing standpoint, we've got some exciting things going on, and we can't wait to get our fans back into the arena. I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to get people back in the building. And we are not the sole arbiters of how that happens or when that happens, but that's what we're working towards, is creating an environment that is safe, and the protocols that are safe that encourage people to come back into the building. So that's what we're working towards. We're looking to launch our season and get people excited about this Heat team. Just drafted a kid that just looks like he has, Heat cultures running through his veins. Baby Udonis, Baby Bam, whatever you want to call this kid, Precious. But man, that's a Heat player right there. So we're excited. We cannot wait to get going. And December 22nd can't get here fast enough, as far as I'm concerned, because I need some more Heat basketball.
Precious has some good big brothers on the team already, because I mean, he's, like you said, Baby Bam, Baby UD. I mean, wow, he's coming to a great situation and a great culture. So we wish Precious the best, and congratulations and welcome to Miami. No doubt about that. As we think about Heat culture, if you will, and we look forward to the season, will there be, and you don't tease us, Michael, but don't tease us too much. But will there be a new video as people come back in? You're the architect, and you're an incredible team, because pregame, you always never disappoint with the music, with the experience. So I'm sure you're putting some things together along those lines.
Absolutely. We always have something up our sleeve for our fans, and they've come to expect that kind of experience when they come to the games. And when they come to the games, they're going to get a Miami Heat experience, which is different than any other experience when you go to any other NBA venue. So yeah, we got special things. We got interesting things. We're working in a different environment now. We're in a pandemic. We can't really kind of engage with our guys the way that we used to, but that's not going to stop us from putting together the type of experience, the type of show our fans are used to seeing. So we're excited to get things going.
I'm not a reporter, but I'm not CNN, I'm GSN. But you want to tease anybody with anything? Inquire about? No, brother.
No. I know you do. You're trying to get that inside scoop. I ain't gonna give it to you right now. But we got some stuff. We got some stuff. Everybody, Heat Nation, we got you. We got you, Heat Nation.
I love it. I didn't expect anything else. I had to try, brother. I had to try. Steve, my man, Stowe. And we've talked about mentoring. We've talked about Heat culture. And we're going to close things out as we partner with the Heat on so many different levels. And I just have to say, on behalf of all the bigs and littles here in Miami, the Miami Heat Charitable Foundation has been just an incredible stalwart partner in helping us in so many different arenas. And certainly I thank you and the leadership at the Heat for just your ongoing commitment to the cause and the impact of mentoring. Michael talked about 3 examples, but there's thousands of examples. So thank you for that. I just got to ask you, because I know Michael's mentoring story. He's been on the podcast before, and incredible what led him to the NBA. And here we are 34 years later, he still got that baby face. So mentoring works for complexion and everything else. But Steve, who mentored you, brother, and what did they teach you?
Great question. And thanks for the kind words too, because we want to continue this partnership and grow it and make it even bigger and really tweak it to where we're doing, even more important things than we've had the past 5 years. So stay tuned with that. God, I've had so many mentors. I've been really, really fortunate over the years, from coaches to teachers to community members, so many. But I have to say, my mom and my dad, they're very quiet. They're very behind the scenes. You don't mess with them. And they were not in the military, but my dad really should have been in the military because I was raised very, very strict. And that's something that, like you said, people see, kids see. You can't teach that. You can't. Words about being punctual and those characters are not taught, they're seen. And I think I never saw my dad a lot growing up because he was always working, and I knew he was working, and I would wake up in the morning, he wasn't there, and that was normal for me. And my mom too, to see her work. And I think that's taught me my work ethic at a young age to get started. And then the various odd jobs that I've had, and even some mentors that weren't great at what they did, but kind of taught me how not to be. And I'll leave those names out. But I did learn a lot from people that yeah, I mean, growing up in Miami, I saw a lot of things here, and whether you talk about racism or prejudices, I saw a lot of things on how not to be. So yeah, it really is true about the village and having people around you. But my parents were the ones that really instilled that hard work, and then so fortunate here to be around an organization like Michael's talked about, and to have Pat, the motivate ahead all the time, and to predict the future and to predict next steps, I think is key. And he's the best at that. And I think being around him has really professionally taught me, in the Harrison family, how to be classy and how to, like Michael said, be thorough and be thought out and not get emotional with this business, because I think emotions are easy. We all have them, and it's about processing them, and it's okay to have emotions. But I think in business, having someone that you can talk to maybe outside of your world and as a mentor is important. And I think that's why we love what you do. And so I've had so many people, and I'm very fortunate for that. And I think recognizing people in your life is key too. It doesn't have to be someone who's above you, or it could be someone below you that can inspire you just the same. So I think I'll leave you with this, is being able to recognize somebody in your life and learn from that person and listen beautifully, like we've learned in our training, is something that I think is key, because a mentor is not going to come knock on your door and say, I'm your mentor. So it's about seeing who that person is and learning how to fit what you love about them into your own personal life.
Well, I tell you what, gentlemen, this has been a pleasure for me, and to thank you is not enough. Doesn't seem, it seems so insignificant to talk about the Miami Heat as an organization, from the Harrisons, the leadership, there's the strategy of the Godfather, Pat Riley, the tenacity of Coach Stowe, who's been a guest, and has just been so humble, and just warm, to, I mean, obviously both of you, and certainly Woolworth, and shout out to Matthew Jafari as well. We just love you guys. I mean, just Heat culture. And we are blessed to be here in Miami. There's other teams in the league, but there's only one Miami Heat. And we're the championship mentality. See, winning is a mentality, and you all have it. That's why we win championships. Gentlemen, brothers, man, I love you, and I appreciate what you all are doing, taking time out to chat with me for this hour. As Michael said earlier, if you're on the sidelines, it's time to get in the game. because in the game of life, everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Have a great Thanksgiving, gentlemen, and all the best to you and your families. That's a wrap.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate you.